Hi everyone, today we have been learning about pictographs. So today's little mini lesson will be about pictographs and what a pictograph is and how we can read pictographs. So remember, pictographs is a type of graph that we can use to represent or display our data, okay? And with pictographs, we use pictures to represent the data. So our EQ for today was how can I use a pictograph to show information? Now, this is a pictograph. We see the pictures in the graph. All right, and I'm actually going to change this one because I wanted to start off with one like this. So we're going to ignore these black circles here, okay? Now, with a pictograph, it is very, very important that we look at the key. The key tells us how much each picture is worth. So in this pictograph, each picture, each strawberry is worth 1. So what I want you to do is write on each picture, once you have it on paper, that each picture is worth 1. So I'm going to go through and write 1 on each picture. That way I know each picture is worth 1. And now, before we even move on to questions, if there were questions with this graph, I want you to write how many total beside the pictures. So for example, this says number of strawberries with each student. So that's what our graph is about. So we are going to be counting by ones. So we know that Cherisse has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 strawberries. So I'm going to write 4 beside so I don't forget and I don't have to recount. How many strawberries does Ed have? Let's count. 1, 2. Ed has 2. What about George? 1, 2, 3. And last but not least is Sally. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are the strategies that you need to be using. You need to make sure that you're paying attention to the key. You're making sure you're labeling each picture. And then you're making sure that you're writing beside each picture how many of each that person has. So the reason why I marked out these strawberries is because they were half strawberries. And we're actually going to talk about that later on. Now, let's look at this pictograph because the keys don't always count by ones, okay? And it's important that we pay attention to this key or you could get the questions wrong. So in this, we're talking, the title of this one is, what is your favorite book series? So students probably voted on their favorite book series, and then they represented this data and the pictograph. Well, when we look at the key down here at the bottom, we know that each book stands for 5 kids, not 1, but 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write 5 on each book so I don't forget. That means that I'm going to be counting by 5s. All right, so let me go through really fast and write down 5 on each book. Now, for the strategy that I taught you, I want you to write the number beside the categories. So how many kids like Junie B. Jones? I'm going to count the books by 5 because my key tells me each book is 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And I'm going to write 30 beside Junie B. Jones. How many kids like the Boxcar Children? Only 5. Not 1, but 5 because each book is 5. How many students like Horrible Harry? 5, 10, 15. And how many kids like Magic Treehouse? Not 6 because there's 6 books. Each book is 5, so we're counting by 5s, not by 1s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, after we do that, it's easy to see and answer questions about our data. So we can see easily that the kids, or the books that most kids liked were Junie B. Jones and Magic Treehouse. They had the exact same number of votes. The book that was like the least, or the series that was like the least, was the Boxcar Children. All right, if you have any questions, just let Miss Long know. Bye, friends.